So Jay, on your first Ask Jay video, I'm pretty sure somebody asked you about cats, and you had a hilarious response to that. So when I saw that somebody asked how you felt about kittens, I thought that was a little surprising. But not as surprising as what you think to be the downfall of kittens is they fart too much. So Jay, as you know, I am a recent college grad buried in all types of student loan debt, my new truck payment, I just moved into a new apartment, and all of that on my just started a new business salary. I'm sure you're just dying to know what I'm doing with my remaining $27.52 a month. Needless to say, the way that I spend that money is really not very interesting. However, when I was in college, I was kind of a mixed bag. I had several friends in college who had to work full-time jobs because they didn't have any financial assistance from their parents, and that was the only way they could pay their way through college. Me, on the other hand, is fortunate enough to have parents who could financially assist me through the college experience. Despite that, I still worked full-time in college. So Jay, often I was going to class full-time as well as working a full-time job, and I had no real financial driver or anything. I didn't have any major bills I needed to be paying with the money that I was earning from my job. So what ended up happening was I had a surplus of income to my expenses, and because I was spending so much time working, I always wanted to use that money for something fun. And for the first time in my life, I didn't have to make purchases solely based on what was most economical. So I began weighing the qualities and features of a product opposed to the price. However, Jay, what I ended up finding is that the most important attribute that I look for when I'm buying something new is something that will allow me to increase the way that I can interact with my friends. But as a result of this phase in my life, I definitely started analyzing other people's possessions and how they spent their money, and I started to develop my own brand of materialism. This materialistic judgment was not based so much on the status associated with whatever purchase they were making, so much as the purpose. I'm going to give an example of something small that I bought in college that's completely developed into a big thing for me and my friends. So I went into a snowboard shop, bought an inexpensive setup to get started with. I was so excited about getting my snowboard. For one of the first times in my life, I was like, man, I'm a badass. I had no idea if I could stand up on it yet, but when I was standing next to it, I sure did feel cool. But the feedback that I got from my friends and family was so not what I was expecting. I was getting questions like, since when do you snowboard? Can't you just rent a board? When are you ever even gonna go? But Jay, let me ask you a simple question. What did I get when I bought that snowboard? Besides looking super badass. The simple answer, of course, is just a snowboard. But that's not all it was. For my friends, there was now going to be a weekly shuttle that was going to be driving up to a ski resort. So then before I knew it, all of my friends started investing in their own ski equipment. But then it turned into something great because we would all get up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning, go through a fast food breakfast, and all be drinking coffee and joking on the way up there, and then we would spend the whole day on the mountain together. And I started to establish closer friendships with this group of people that I started going with. All it took was that initial starter snowboard kit, and now we're looking like this. Now, of course, the big problem with snowboarding is that it's a seasonal thing, and we have slowly come to realize that wakeboarding is the flip side of snowboarding for the summer, which requires a boat. You can only imagine how unsupportive people are being with that one. And all I'm really trying to say, Jay, is I think it's great to spend money on things that are going to allow you and your friends to have new ways to interact and just further develop those friendships. And Jay, like I said, I've kind of developed my own brand of materialism, but this still has no effect on the way that I make friends. Unless, of course, you own a boat. Best friends! So Jay, for my question of the day, what is something that you like to and you consistently spend money on? And that's all I've got for you today, Jay. Start of week 12.